And it's always better to err on the side of being a little simpler than to err on the side of being too tough, because we want students to have success and make good progress.
Hello, and welcome to the Arts of Language podcast with Andrew Pudewa, founder of the Institute for Excellence in Writing, or as many like to say, IEW. My name is Julie Walker, and I'm honored to serve Andrew and IEW as the Chief Marketing Officer. Our goal is to equip teachers and teaching parents with methods and materials which will aid them in training their students to become confident and competent communicators and thinkers. So although, Andrew, we are recording this podcast in June, this one actually launches in July.
Why are we even telling people that?
Because it's hard to believe that we are going to launch a podcast on the day we record it. So just true confessions, just being honest.
The whole subject of this podcast should have been released in June.
No, this is perfect for today. Because today is July 10th.
Which is the cutoff date.
For our freedom shipping.
Oh.
So we have a special promotion every year called Freedom Shipping.
And we're just now letting people know about it when it's over.
No. I think last week, the podcast that we launched last week actually talks about why we don't discount.
Oh, and we said freedom shipping. So people know if they follow our podcast every week, which they should.
Yeah. And I have some inside information. Today, July 10th, is not going to be the last day of our freedom shipping promotion.
Why is that?
Because of this podcast.
Oh.
We wanted to give
Okay, well, this was an enigma wrapped in a mystery, concealed in a riddle. So
Yes.
whatever.
So I like that you said it like that, because oftentimes people are a little bit mystified about IEW. They know what we do because they've talked to their friends. You've had this happen when you go to homeschool conventions. I had this happen when I went to a recent convention. My friends told me I need IEW, but I don't know what to buy.
Well, the sad thing is when I hear someone say, oh, I was looking at this a couple years ago, but it seemed too complicated. But now it's like so easy and it's the best thing.
Yes.
I wish I just did this before.
Exactly.
So that's what we're trying to help people
Yes.
get past the it seems complicated business.
It's not complicated. The thing that's complicated, and the thing that I think mystifies some of our customers, is we don't have grade levels on our books for our student materials.
Right, yeah.
And
where do you
so
begin?
there's a good reason for that I'll just touch on right now. Our books, our curriculum is designed to be used where your students are at. And if they're not at a fifth grade reading level, then they should go down lower or higher. So it doesn't matter what the number is on the cover, just give your students where they are. But the kids, guess what? They know what that number is on the cover. And so if you give them a book that's lower than their grade level, they're going to be embarrassed. And we don't have that.
No, we don't. We play a game of codes.
We do.
And meaning. But, I think you said the key, which is the most important thing for deciding where to start really is reading level, because that indicates that aptitude for reading and writing. And it's always better to err on the side of being a little simpler than to err on the side of being too tough, because we want students to have success and find, that it's relatively easy and make good progress.
Right.
And you've got plenty of time. You can work through these and, people are always worried, oh no, if I don't start with the very first thing, what will I miss? You won't miss anything because we keep teaching the same structural models and the same stylistic techniques every year.
And there's a reason for that. It's not so that we can let anybody start wherever they want. It's part of the pedagogy. It's part of the methodology. So I'm going to jump right in just so, dear listener, you don't have to wait until another few minutes of where to start. I'm going to jump right into our 3-step implementation program for homeschoolers, and then the added fourth step for the schools division.
Good thing you're here because I don't know anything about
I know.
that.
Well, this has changed over the years just because homeschooling has changed over the years. And more schools are adopting us. And so we tried to simplify it. So the very first thing that a parent needs to decide in a homeschooling environment is which curriculum is appropriate for their student. And we have two options: theme-based, which is a paper-based course where it's not a workbook, but it explains a method without video.
Well, it provides all the things that the parent needs or the teacher needs, which is the source text aligned with the unit, background information if necessary, practice exercises for the new style techniques, if any, and the checklist.
The checklist.
Those are the parts of a lesson. And, I always point out, that if people are going to be using our theme-based writing lessons, they are way better off if they do the teaching writing instruction style course.
Well, and we'll get to that in a second. So choose theme-based or video-based. And of course, we often here at the Arts of Language podcast talk about the structure and style for students video courses. They're so good. You explain things so well to the students. The students who watch them at home, they feel like they're a part of the class. They raise their hands even though they know that you can't see them.
Talk to the screen.
Yeah. It's very interactive and
surprisingly so.
Yes. And it's very comprehensive. You go through every unit step by step, every lesson step by step. And it's just a great product. So do you want a paper-based course or do you want a video course? So what's their reading level? And then you choose. And then we have a variety of themes to choose from, or you choose the video-based. Now, I am looking right now at the Magalog magazine and catalog that we make available to our homeschooling families or co-ops, because a lot of co-ops and groups use our materials as well. And if you don't have one of these, iew.com/magalog, you can either view it online or you can request one to be mailed to you. We're happy to do so. But on page 13, there's this really great chart that tells you, here's some reading levels, here's where you can start, and it's divided into paper-based, video-based. And so you choose your curriculum. That is step one. Step two is to learn the method. While your students are learning the method, our way of teaching writing is so, I was going to say superior, which of course that's market speak, but is absolutely true. But it's very different than anyone else.
When she said that, she had her eyes closed and she had this huge smile on her face, like she was going back to the early days of 20-some years ago when you first learned it.
Yes, it was such an epiphany. I was a school teacher. I taught writing to my middle school students, and then, I don't know, I guess you could say I got demoted to first and second grade by my choice. So I knew how to teach, but there was nothing that taught me how to teach writing in my education. And when we started homeschooling, there was nothing out there that would teach writing in this step-by-step method that IEW does.
So what we're saying here is that it's really good if parents learn the program.
Absolutely.
So they can teach it better.
Yes. So as your students are getting the checklist and they learn their dress-ups, and as they are reading the source text, there's all kinds of nuances that you learn when you're doing the teacher training program that the students are not getting, because the students, it's being taught at their level. They're not getting some of the background of why we do what we do. So that teacher training is almost like a defense for why we teach writing the way we do.
Well, there's rigor, but I don't think there's too many people who did it and said, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. It's just, carving out the time, really,
exactly,
to do it. And, of course, there's a little bit of summer remaining, so
yes,
people can get a head start. And you don't have to watch the entire TWSS to start.
Right.
If you watch the first few units, you can start teaching the first few lessons and then just stay ahead. And everything's organized by unit. So everything theme-based, instruction style for students, TWSS, everything corresponds by unit. So that should make it pretty easy to stay one step ahead of your kids.
That's all you need to be, just a little bit smarter than them, right? Well, in the Structure and Style for Students, we have in the teacher manual that goes with the student video courses, what you should watch in the Teaching, Writing, Structure, and Style teacher training course, just to be that a little bit smarter than your kids.
Well, there you have it.
Yep.
But people can do the SSS course.
Yes.
In a pinch.
Yes.
Without having watched the TWSS.
Yes.
Because we do all the teaching. We do the heavy lifting. It's better, but it's possible. And then, of course, there's the, the co-ops groups, hybrid schools, people teaching IW in a class. And, I've noticed that, there's kind of two groups of people who are in this type of program, right? The ones who they take the kid is in the writing class, the teacher teaches it, and the kid does it, and the parent's not really informed or involved. And then other groups where all the parents get together and actually watch the TWSS together, maybe one a month or something, and have a little party and eat popcorn and watch the teacher training course. Those groups are much more successful.
Absolutely.
Because the parents know exactly what the kids are doing, can help them at home. So if you're going to undertake having your kids in this type of class or school or program, you want to be there to help as much as possible, and don't kind of abdicate, because then you're not going to get the same great results that you could.
Absolutely.
You might still get good results, but they might not be as great.
Good, right. So I'm thinking we have three groups of people who listen to our podcast. We have the homeschooling parent, and they understand that they are taking responsibility for the education of their students. And we would hope that they would be as involved as you just described, Andrew. And then we have another group, and that is a full-time school teacher, and they are teaching a group of kids in their classroom. We're going to speak to them in just a minute of where to start with our school teachers. But then we have this third group, and this is really dedicated parents who have their kids in school, but they still want to be involved. And we have resources for them as well, including our Structure and Style overview, which is a 2-hour video of you just kind of giving the 30,000 foot of the 9 units and the stylistic techniques.
Right. And that's available online for anyone.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Free, right?
Yeah. Yep. And we'll put a link in the show notes so that you can click on that. But it's not the full course meal.
The full enchilada.
Yeah, the
say.
Whole enchilada. It is not the whole
enchilada.
It is just the chips and salsa before you dive into your banquet. So that's the second step, is learn the method. So first step, choose your curriculum based on reading level and whether or not you want a theme-based book or a video-based book. Second step, learn the method. And the third is the favorite for me, celebrate success.
Oh.
We are so confident that our students, our teachers, our homeschooling parents will have good results. We guarantee it.
We do. We guarantee it on both ends, because you can try the Structure and Style for Students video course a few weeks for free online.
Yep.
Absolutely no commitment, no cost, nothing. And so try it. If you like it, okay, get the rest. If you don't, that's okay. And then if you finish the whole thing and said, well, that was a bummer, send it back.
Yep. So we're very, very happy to receive all the testimonies. In fact, we should do a podcast where we read some of the testimonies. It sounds a little bit, what do you call that, self-serving, but it is really fun.
Well, I think people like to hear the stories of other people, and I particularly like to read letters that I get from kids.
Yes.
Because that's where you really see the change that's occurring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, listener, next week we're doing an episode called From Our Mailbag. And so we're actually going to be reading some of these for next week.
All right.
But for this week, this is the What to Buy episode. Choose your curriculum, learn the method, celebrate success. And you can actually see a short little video that I do with Nathan on our website, iew.com/start, where we actually give these 3 steps. And then there's some links in there of the curriculum choices and the teacher training course and some of our testimonials, which is very handy, nice laid out. Now, I want to talk to our school teachers, and it's almost the same, except that as school teachers know, things are a little bit different in a homeschooling environment than they are in the classroom. This 5-day-a-week classroom, you've got a range of students based on abilities. They're maybe all the same age, but they're all very different in their abilities. And so we want to provide a little bit extra help to our school teachers to make sure that you're choosing materials that will help you in training your students to become confident and competent communicators and thinkers. I say that every week on our podcast.
I know.
Do you? So the very first step, if you are in a school, is connect with your educational consultant.
Right, because we've got a whole room of people that are very experienced in knowing how to get going, whether it's one classroom or a few grade levels or a whole school adoption. And of course, there are many factors to consider there. And they basically have, some similar options: printed lessons with source texts and checklists all provided, or video that could be shown to students in class, which in some cases I think works very well. Or the teacher could watch me teach kids on the video and then steal my jokes and go try to teach their kids like I do. So,
Right.
That's a particularly effective form of teacher training, is this tight modeling of every lesson. And then, after a year, you're kind of, expert. And that's what we want, expert teachers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So step 1, connect with your educational consultant. And then the next 3 steps are the same. Choose your curriculum, select a training preference. Because there are lots of different training opportunities for school, our highest level of training that we provide to schools is on-site professional development. And we have a couple trainers on our staff, you being one of them, where you or Jeff Neese will go out to a classroom, to a school, usually in the summer.
Yeah, usually for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days, and do that teaching, writing, structure, and style, answer their specific questions. Oftentimes, everybody in the school is there, regardless of what they teach. In fact, our director of our schools division, Sharon Staggers, attended one of these, and this is where she got very excited about IEW. She expected to be bored. She was going to sit in the back and just grade papers while this guy up front, which was you, was going to explain.
Well, it's because she's a science teacher.
She was there.
So what does writing have to do with that?
Right.
Me,
Right.
But yeah, we've had many, many cases where subject area teachers were part of it because the whole school is doing it, but then saw a way to fit that in and write better science reports or do better history research or even make a keyword outline of math word problems to be able to solve them more easily or better. So, yeah, the cross-application is phenomenal.
Yeah, we like to say that writing isn't English. It doesn't have to be relegated to the English language arts department. It is learning. And so if you're writing, you're learning.
If you're writing, you're thinking. And if you need to think, then writing's a good way to train that.
Writing's a good way to do that. Exactly. Yeah. And just kind of back on the Sharon thing. So she got super excited about it, started implementing it, just like you say, in her science class with the writing reports. And she passed out a checklist for the students to use when they turned in, and they groaned. They said, "Oh, you're talking to Mrs. Puthers and you're finding out what she's teaching. That's not fair," because she knew those kids learned how to write. And so she was excited. And of course, now this is 10 years later, she's on our team, and schools division is really growing. And we are having many, many great stories from school teachers.
And so is Mrs. Puthers.
Yes, indeed. That's right. We snagged Mrs. Puthers as well. And she also works for our team in our schools division. So that's it. Those are the 3 or 4 step implementation of where to start with IEW. I mentioned at the beginning that this has changed over the years, because when I first started all those years ago, when I was homeschooling my teenage boys, it was the teacher training course.
Was it? Yeah.
I learned the
But
method.
you had to go find your own source texts and make your own assignments. And, that was good. But this is so much better because we have so many options now. And you can find a theme-based that fits in with what you're studying in history or literature to some degree. And then the SSS course is plug and play easy, which is good because then we've been able to reach more kids and help them learn to read and write and think better. And what better job could we possibly have?
Right. I would be remiss if I did not mention our newest series of theme-based books. They're not specific to a theme. They're kind of a smattering of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And the reason for that is we are writing them in cooperation and collaboration with the Hillsdale Academy, Hillsdale K-12 programs, schools that are cropping up across the nation.
Well, their curriculum map is extremely well designed. And so what we did was we said, okay, what history, what science, what literature, what music or art types of things are they doing during this month in this grade? And then we chose some source text that would fit in perfectly with that. So it really is a beautiful integration. And of course, the Hillsdale K-12 curriculum guide is used in all of their affiliate schools, and that network is growing very rapidly. But anyone can use the theme-based books for that.
And we now have 3. So as of the date of this podcast, we have 3 Adventures in Writing, Discoveries in Writing, and Frontiers in Writing.
Okay. And there will be 3
and there will
more
be more
someday.
Yes, someday. Yeah. So it really fun thing. But, theme-based, Andrew mentioned a particular theme. So we have Bible-based writing lesson, which was our very first one.
My favorite.
Yes, that Andrew wrote along with the help from Dr. Webster. And then we've got a lot of history-based writing lessons. So history-based writing lessons, and then we've got Wonders of Science, which is kind of science theme. So I love that we have the themes that are devoted to a specific theme, but I also love this idea of just kind of like a potpourri of topics that your student could write about. So great source text is what we're looking for. Great step-by-step guidance that is provided both in the theme-based and the structure and style video courses. And of course, here at the ready to answer any questions you might have. Our customer service team, our schools division. If you have a question, you can call us. Tell us what page you're on. We'll open the book and we'll walk you through it with you because everyone here knows your method too. So, all right. I hope that helps.
I hope so too.
Happy freedom shipping. You got one more day.
Okay, one more day.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please subscribe to our podcast in iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, or just visit us each week at iew.com/podcasts. Here you can also find show notes and relevant links from today's broadcast. One last thing, would you mind going to iTunes to rate and review our podcast? This really helps other smart, caring listeners like you find us. Thanks so much.